You don't need books to know what's what. We'll pile them up and burn them to the ground. Dumb it down. And if you say that we're corrupt, we'll round you up and run you out of town.
Bermondsey, hello, John.
Hello, mate. 45 quid fish and chips, mate. Where'd you go and buy your fish and chips for 45 quid, for Christ's sake?
You're not listening to this show, are you? Harrods.
Yes, I am.
Simon says Harrods fish and chips.
Harrods.
42 quid for fish and chips.
Yeah, would you really go to Harrods to buy some fish and chips?
No.
No, you're going to be bonkers to go to Harrods to buy fish and chips.
You'd have to be bonkers, yeah. Or you'd have to be one of those people that drives those luminous purple spaceships that make a noise like the Earth being pulled apart, and you park them outside, and then you go indoors and, you know, buy a watch for £250,000, and then spend £42 for fish and chips, because those people, money means nothing.
I think they're called shareholders in Chelsea Football Club, aren't they?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Chelsea or Man City or yeah.
Yeah, but no. Welcome to Bermondsey, where you're going to get a nice plate of fish and chips, eat-in or take-away, for about 5 or 6 quid. Absolutely stupendous quality and freshness, and I love fish. I'm not so keen on the chips, funnily enough, but the fish. I couldn't do without the chips.
Oh, come on! The chips are the best part of it. I don't know what I don't know what it is about frying potatoes, but you think of any other food that you would nick off somebody else's plate, and there isn't any. You'd steal chips. You'd steal crisps, but you would not steal any other food from anybody's plate, would you? I mean, you wouldn't pick up a bit of their steak, you wouldn't steal their peas, you wouldn't nick their carrots, but you would help yourself to a chip. Am I right?
Well, I'm worried about you because I don't want to meet you in the socially distanced new era that we're going to go into.
Yeah.
When you'll be trying to nick chips off my plate.
I'd be smearing my dirty fingers all over your chips.
Yeah, cool, blimey.
Yeah.
I don't want to get anywhere near that.
In fact, to be absolutely certain that I get the maximum amount possible, I'll be licking your chips as soon as you stop paying attention. So be aware of that, John. You have been warned. Thanks a lot, mate. Kingston. Hello, David.
Hi there, Nick.
David.
I don't understand after more than a year, 14 months, however long it's been since we've had this virus, why this is still debatable. I can understand why it was initially, but I know that now we do have the evidence. We have the studies that have proved whether masks are effective or ineffective, and it's been proven conclusively that they don't really make much difference at all.
Now, wait a minute. It's been proved conclusively they don't make much difference at all. I thought that the opposite was true.
Well, no. I mean, it was in your last show. It was mentioned. Sorry, in the previous program, I was listening in anticipation for yours. Obviously, the Dan mask. It was a study completed in Denmark. The biggest, most conclusive comprehensive study of wearing masks showed that it didn't really make much difference. And the interesting thing about that study is that it was carried out on people that were changing their mask every 8 hours.
Right.
There's been other evidence to show that when this doesn't happen, and people obviously we have to assume that there's going to be a lot of people that are wearing the same mask and not sterilising them every day or changing them every day.
Yeah.
So if it's been established that if they're used in the right and proper way, that it doesn't really make much difference.
Well, I find that hard to believe. I did hear a little bit. I mean, I was actually watching the football, full confession, but I did hear a little bit of Rachel's show, and she was talking about that, but that just doesn't make any sense. Logically, how can they not work?
Well, from what I understand, I mean, I'm not a virologist, but the virus particles are so small that they can't be kept inside a mask.
Well, no, that's right, which is why we wear them to protect other people rather than to protect ourselves. I mean, they won't get kept, but a lot will, surely. I mean, less will get out, and less is better, no?
It's practically insignificant. But then moving on from that, I mean, I would say the point would be that the other thing is this whole notion that people that are healthy, that don't have any symptoms, are disease spreaders. This is something which was never really imagined before. They didn't think, oh, my son can't go to school because he met, his grandma who had the flu. So come to school, that's nonsense. But it's a completely new thing. And I can understand why people would have thought that initially, but now the studies have been completed. I would refer people to the Wuhan study, again, the biggest, most comprehensive study. I think it involved, I can't remember how many, I don't want to make up, it was a lot of people. It was the biggest study done. And that proved that asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, i.e. people with no symptoms, don't pass on the virus. So
this is also, I mean, I'm not disputing what you're the evidence that you're giving, but it is the opposite of everything that we've been told about this virus all along. So it just does seem a bit surprising that such revolutionary findings haven't been more widely disseminated.
But the thing is, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I don't have any medical training, but from the doctors I've heard and have been speaking about this and reading journals on the British Medical Journal, this has always been the case, that they always believe this. It was always been a novel idea that people that don't present themselves as sick can spread illnesses. And so this is the point, and I've had this confirmed I've had this confirmed by a doctor as well on the radio show who said, yeah, it's true that the studies don't show that people that don't have symptoms spread the thing. And the reason that was given, because of the viral load. Unless they have enough of a viral load to be coughing and sneezing, as we've all been taught before, coughs and sneezes spread diseases. Right, this was established common sense. But now suddenly all that's gone out the window. Right. So I don't understand why any of these things are debatable. I can understand we were all a bit scared before, but the studies have proven what we already knew. And so why are these things even being discussed? If you have symptoms, then stay at home. But if you really have to go out, then it may make sense, like they do in the Far East. They don't normally make everyone wear a mask, but the doctor would say for someone that does have symptoms and has to go from A to B, wear a mask, and that seems sensible. But other than that, where is the debate? It doesn't seem to make any common sense.
Well, if what you say is correct, then there should be more debate about it. Yeah, but there doesn't seem to be. People have made their minds up, at least those in I was going to say those in authority. Of course, Boris Johnson is in authority, and he seems to have made his mind up. But others, almost everybody else, seems to be rowing back on this idea of ditching them completely. Are you going to be wearing yours in any way?
No, because I wear it just out of politeness. But once the rule goes, and if I don't have any symptoms, then I'm not going to wear it because it's not backed up by science. I'm also not going to vaccinate my children either, because the chances are that they're not going to get any symptoms. And you only have to go to AstraZeneca printouts, AstraZeneca printouts, or go to Pfizer printouts. This is the government's own statistics, and you can see all of the side effects. You can see the amount of people who have died. I believe it's up to 1,500 people that have died from taking this vaccine at the moment. So why would I put my children at that risk if they don't pose any risk from contracting the virus at all?
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that they don't have any risks. I mean, long COVID is a significant problem for a lot of people. I mean, it just completely ruined their lives, and having something like that's relatively new and we know precious little about, and it could end next week or it could end never. I mean, it must be absolutely terrifying for people. So, that's an interesting start to the debate, and I appreciate that, David. Thanks very much. Southampton, hello, Simon.
Nick, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
I just rang in, right, because I want to comment on your last caller, David from Kingston.
Yeah.
Now, this guy, and I hope you're listening to me, David, because obviously what you say filters through. This guy phones up this radio station constantly. He also phones up multiple other radio stations. I've heard him. He has the same the same rubbish all the time. He's an anti-vaxxer, anti-lockdown, COVID denier, and he's desperate to say something that anybody could give him some relevance. Everything he says is utter rubbish. And that study, that damn mask study, right, was authored by Carl Hennigan. Carl Hennigan was one of the main protagonists behind the Barrington Declaration, which was debunked by nearly every single scientist that has the slightest amount of credibility. So, David, just stop, mate, because all you're doing, people like you are making it harder for all of us, ironically, even people like you, because if you just shut up and just try to do something to help instead of hinder, then we could all rub along smoothly, and this might all end a little bit sooner.
Well, you could say the same. I get your point. You could say the same about Boris Johnson. I mean, he keeps saying.
I could say a lot worse about him.
He keeps saying contradictory things. You know, if you've had the vaccine, then the connection between catching the virus and going to hospital has been severed. He said, as in it will not happen. And then the various ministers have been going around Zahawi today trying to pretend that he didn't say it, or we misheard it, or he meant something else, and basically dissembling misinformation like that. But then the entire government appears to be about to go into a U-turn because there are polls, as like the one that I was talking about at the beginning, that suggest that actually, you know what, we're not that bothered about it. But that poll surprises me. Doesn't it surprise you that people, about two-thirds of people are still keen to keep their masks?
No, because we're in a Brexit situation where the minority are shouting louder when the actual facts are that the majority of people want this to be over. But until it's over, because it's not going to be over until it's over, and until then, we're quite happy just to do a little bit. And if I save one person's life by wearing a mask because the little bit of fabric that the virus has to hit, it turns out that it can't get through that, then it's worth it. People are, some people are worth it. Let's just do it. Let's just get on with it, you know.
Yes.
And
only some people.
Only some people.
Let's make a list. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know that it's just the same. It's the same nonsense, and it's not just him. It's like they've got a script to follow. And they speak with such authority, like they know best. And one of your fellow presenters, who happens to have been on today, is one of the main culprits for this. It's utter rubbish. Just do your bit.
Right.
Just do your bit.
Okay, do your bit. All right, thanks, Simon. Let's have a call in Middlesbrough. George.
Yeah, hello.
George.
Yeah, you're putting forward this notion that we're in danger of the shelves running empty because of Brexit or COVID or whatever. It's not because of that. It's because of Tony Blair put forward this notion that every school leaver should be a university graduate. And, you know, they're not.
50%, I think.
We're now short of blue collar. There's a generation that grew up.
Well, 2 years ago, George, 2 years ago there was no shortage.
Yes, because of Brexit, because of COVID, these are knock-on effects. But there's a generation that grew up thinking that blue-collar work was beneath them.
Well, it's worse. I'm afraid it's worse than that, George. We think that all service industries, for example, are beneath us, which is why we were delighted, even though some might protest otherwise, when European Union workers came here to do all of the jobs that we didn't want to do, like long-distance lorry driving, like being baristas, which is a fancy name for pouring hot water through ground coffee beans, like being cleaners and security guards and every other job that we don't particularly want to do in this country. And we were further delighted that they would do it for minimum wage or less. And now all of those people, all of those business persons that voted for Brexit are whinging, whining and moaning that the very thing that Ramona's said was going to happen has actually come to pass. They can't find the staff, and so they are desperately scrabbling around trying to find the money to pay British staff to persuade them to do the jobs that they don't want to do. And the wages are going up, and their business model is in doubt, and they're closing left, right and centre. That's the problem, George.
It's a stick and plaster. Brett, the whole thing about Eastern Europeans coming over to do the jobs we didn't want to do was a stick and plaster.
What does that mean?
It was a generation that grew up that thought that blue collar work was beneath them. Saw the fantasy by Tony Blair.
Well, wouldn't it be better to have a more educated workforce rather than a workforce that just wants to put up with dirty fingernail jobs for the rest of their lives?
Right. Well, whether you're thick or whether you're clever, when you drive a lorry, you need the shelves stocked in a supermarket.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you go hungry.
Right.
It's not a question of the Krypton factor.
No, I'm not saying that it is, but we don't have to do those driving jobs. If other countries want to send us people who would prefer to do them, then why would we refuse that?
It's not a question. It's not a question. If we'd voted Remain, right? If COVID had never happened, it was a sticking plaster. The whole thing about
it's not a sticking plaster. It's not a sticking plaster. It's the open economy of the world. We don't make much stuff here because we get China to make it for us because they do it cheaper and more efficiently.
There was a generation that grew up.
Yeah, I know. You keep making the same point, George. You keep making the same point, George. But wouldn't it surely be better if the people in this country were more educated, that did better, higher-paying jobs? And the jobs that they would have done, had they not been educated, are being filled by people from poorer countries. I mean, that's just the way of the world. We don't make cheap T-shirts here because nobody wants to be paid £3 an hour to do it, like they are in China. We do more expensive things. We specialise in complicated machinery and financial products and all of these things that require a certain level of education. And wouldn't it be better for the nation if all of the workforce was better educated so they could do these higher value tasks rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to screw a widget in on a factory line for the rest of my life. There's no... Just because it's poorly paid doesn't mean to say that there's some sort of higher purpose to it. Just because you describe yourself as working class. I hear your point, George, and I think you're wrong. A Danish family have told how a mob of drunk England fans sucker-punched a father in the stomach as they travelled on a bus after the Euro semi-final. Eva Green, 43, was heading home from Wembley after England's victory over the Danes on Wednesday when her husband was confronted by fans in East Dulwich. The woman, who was with her 9-year-old son, Henry, claims that they were singled out by drunk and aggressive England fans who spotted their Denmark shirts through the window. This is when we win, we're like this. She told The Standard, we were sitting with a sleeping child when a crowd of people spotted our Danish T-shirts through the windows. They started banging on the windows and the doors and screaming and yelling. They started filming us. It was uncomfortable and weird because we hadn't engaged with them. We just wanted to go home. Yeah, well, you should have thought of that before being foreigners in England. Mrs. Green's husband, Elaine, originally from the US, said the frenzy began after 50 to 100 jubilant fans blocked the road ahead of them and then noticed their Denmark T-shirts. And by jubilant, I assume he means drunk.
Booze.
After a dozen allegedly began pounding on the bus window, giving them the finger and jeering, Mr. Green walked towards the open bus door to congratulate them on England's 2-1 victory. He said, this drove what I can only call a mob into a frenzy that will depress me far more than the runt who came up and punched me when I couldn't see him. My wife came over and said the same. Have a good night, guys, she said. I'm glad for your team, or something like that. This does not, I learned, he said, make a mob of fans chastened. It just escalated further. My wife said, we're just trying to get our 9-year-old home. Well, just trying to get your 9-year-old home is not a reasonable excuse to avoid getting punched when you have deliberately chosen to be foreign in England?
Affirmative.
He said, forget the punch, I've been hit a lot harder in boxing. It was just a mass of humanity's worst that I wish I could forget. Well, that's football fans for you. You know, I've said this many times that I used to live in Putney, and I used to take the tube, the district line, and it used to go past the Chelsea ground. And when the games kicked out just before, you know, because like coming to work, it would be around about the time I'd be passing, often when the games kicked out, and I thought, and when the train pulled up and the station was empty, I thought, oh, thank God for that. But when it was full of football fans, I thought, oh, Struth. These are pleasant surroundings are about to get negative really quickly, and they always did. Always. What is wrong with people? He said, forget the punch, I've been hit a lot harder in boxing. It was just a massive humanity's worst that I wish I could forget. I've loved so much about this country, he said. I leave in 3 weeks, and this will be one of my last memories. It's a shame. Yeah, that's right. You nice Danish people, push off back to where you came from. We don't want your sort round these parts. Ms. Green said her son Henry, 9, has grown concerned for how Italian fans could be treated on Sunday. Henry said, who's warning the Italian kids? Wow. Well done, everybody. God. Stoke-on-Trent. Hello, Tony.
Hey, I'm Nick. You all right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah. I just want to take a bit of issue about how you're dissing everything the government's done, basically.
Oh, yes.
It's dead easy to sit there and say,
yeah. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy.
It is.
You've got all the
Piece
facts
of
and
cake.
figures and everything.
I haven't got no facts. I ain't got no figures.
Right. So this Freedom Day on Monday, you don't agree with it?
Whether
No?
I agree with it or not is neither here nor there. I mean, there seems inevitable what the consequences are going to be. I mean, you prepared to put up with that?
So what are you prepared to put up with? You prepared to put up with this being locked down forever?
I'm prepared for me to go about my life and you to go about yours, Tony. I'm not running the country.
Yeah. No, neither am I. But
Right.
you get all the critics coming on and saying, yeah, we can't do this, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I'm thinking most of the population or the vulnerable people have been jabbed, double jabbed, whatever you call it.
Yeah,
And it's about time that the country opened up.
right.
But
even as other
every time I
countries,
listen-
even as other
Sorry?
countries, which have got far less cases than we do, are closing down. We're the only one that appears to be opening, and we've got more cases than anywhere else on Earth.
What's wrong with that? It's been a bit courageous, and it's been a bit. What's wrong with that?
Well, you know what else is courageous, Tony? Closing your eyes and walking into traffic.
So what do you want to do? Close your eyes and just sleep, or go into a slumber?
Well, let me put it to you like this: have you had 2 jabs?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now a variant comes along. Because we've opened up and people are mingling, all hugger-mugger, and a variant comes along that avoids the vaccine. Wait a minute, that avoids the vaccine, and kills you stone dead. Are you okay with that?
Nick. From the very start of this pandemic,
Not
do you
answering the
think
question.
Do you think from the very start of this pandemic, do you think this society has taken all the rules, done everything that they're supposed to do? Because I don't.
Overall, pretty much, yes.
What, when you're looking in shop aisles and there's people taking toilet rolls and the last pasta bake off the shelves?
Yeah. Well, that's not against the rules.
No, it's not.
I mean,
But
somebody's
what
got to
I'm
take the
saying-
last
what-
toilet roll off the shelf.
What I'm saying, Nick, is we've not abided by all the rules.
I think we pretty much have. It's quite extraordinary how we've abided by the rules, these privations. They've taken our lives away from us, and we've
Yes.
been good as gold. Good little boys we have.
No, we haven't been good little boys
Pretty
and
much.
girls at all.
Absolutely, yes.
No, we've been very, very selfish, Nick. We've been very selfish from
I
the start.
seriously do not agree with that at all. Not where I
Okay.
live,
Okay.
Tony.
Okay.
Maybe
okay.
up your way.
Well, no. Well, you can't just isolate one area.
Well, you
mate.
just said that. I'm saying I have not experienced that, Tony. I have not been to Stoke-on-Trent, but your experience
well,
presumably is based on living in Stoke-on-Trent. If you're telling me that's what the people in Stoke-on-Trent are like, I'll have to take your word for it.
Well, I should imagine it's countrywide, Nick.
Yeah,
but anyway,
and my experience of the country, not including Stoke-on-Trent, is that people have been good as gold.
I don't think so, Nick.
Considering what has been taken from us, I think we've been remarkably placid and compliant.
We've been very selfish.
In what way? Apart from that taking the last toilet roll off the shelf thing, I mean, apart from that, right at the beginning of the right at the beginning of the pandemic, when the shops were being like stripped bare of toilet roll, it's kind of understandable because it's something you don't want to run out of. I mean, it doesn't matter if you run out of bread so much, you've got an alternative for bread, but you ain't got no alternative for toilet roll, especially if you ain't got no kitchen roll.
I'm sure you didn't rush to the shelves for the last toilet rolls.
I tell you what, Tony, I swerved the supermarkets entirely because I knew that there weren't any there. So I went to corner shops in the middle of the night because I knew they'd have them.
Yeah, well, I work night shifts. I'm the police. I work for the police, and I did not find anything to eat when I knocked off shift.
You didn't find anything to eat?
No.
Where were you looking?
In the Tesco aisles, mate.
There was nothing to eat?
No.
Well, what were you looking for?
I was just looking for something, a quick, ready meal. I wasn't looking for
ready meal.
For roast dinner.
Vegetables and fruit, no good?
Yeah, well, I really could not knock that up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But
why not?
What I'm saying to you, Nick, look at, okay, let's fast forward, eh? Let's fast forward to Wembley the other week. Okay? Do you think them people are isolating? Do you think them people give a damn about anything at all?
No, not at all. But they are not. But they aren't representative of the country, nor are they representative of how we've been behaving over the last 19 months. That was a one-off. That was insane.
Oh, Nick, come on.
Of course it was.
Come on, man.
You can't tell me that you think that that's what British people are like ordinarily, huffing cocaine in Leicester Square and putting fireworks up their bottom. That's not us. That was a one-off.
It's not a one-off.
Of course it is.
Okay, I mean, we can go through the whole of the summer about, the ripping the statues down, ripping...
that has nothing to do with COVID. What's that got to do with COVID?
It's got to do with respecting, the laws of the land and saying, you haven't got to congregate and you've got to wear the mask, you've got to stay 2 meters apart. Who the hell has been doing that for the last 18 months?
Almost all of us.
I tell you what, Nick, I appreciate your loyalty in what people are doing. I'm
not saying it out of any sort of misplaced patriotism. I'm saying it because that's what I've experienced. That's what I've witnessed with my own eyes. As I go about my daily business, people have been completely compliant with all of the requests and the instructions that the government has made. Not 100% of the people, 100% of the time. I mean, you wouldn't expect that. But compared to how you would have expected us to behave, if I told you 3 years ago that the government was going to take away your right to leave your house, it's going to take away your right to go to work, it's going to take away your right to go to the pub, you can't go to the clubs, you can't do this or that or have any of your normal everyday living and your normal way of going about your life. They were going to take all of that away from you. How do you think that we would have behaved? Like this? No way. You'd have thought there were going to be riots in the streets. Not a one.
Okay. So,
I mean, just to wrap it up, Tony? Your position is that the government is doing its best and people should stop picking on them.
No, my position is, Nick, what? I mean, this is unprecedented. Yeah, you'll agree with that.
God, here we go with the unprecedented again. Yes, okay, it's unprecedented. Not really, but go ahead.
Well, not really. Why has it happened in your lifetime before?
Oh,
were you living when the Spanish flu was about?
You didn't say in my lifetime. You said unprecedented.
Yeah, unprecedented. Which means, were you living when the Spanish flu was about?
No, that's not what it means. But anyway, let's skip over that. That's not what unprecedented means. But go ahead.
Nick, if I'm mixing you up a bit,
you're not mixing me up, Tony. You are tripping yourself up. But let's not get stuck up on what unprecedented means. Go ahead.
Right. So Monday, okay, we Freedom Day, whatever you call it.
Freedom Day is what you call it. Yes.
No, I don't call it Freedom Day.
You just did, though. You just did.
No. Okay. I don't call it that,
but
that's
just did
the moniker that's been put on it.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay?
Freedom Day.
You just said to me, all these issues that have happened for the last 18 months, the self-isolation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah? And you want to not to do that. You don't want to release that. You want to keep that in state.
I think that there's some things that would be sensible to continue doing, yes. Where the government wants us to be able to just throw off everything that's been restricting us up to this point, because that's what Freedom Day means. This is what they've been, advertising for a good long while now. And then scientists started whispering in their ears, and then they started using the word caution a lot, like every other sentence. We have to proceed with caution, and you must be cautious when you're out proceeding with caution, and caution should be your watchword when you're proceeding with caution out.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. But don't you think people have got the right to, sort of look after themselves and think for themselves? Do you not think that's a possibility?
If you were if your actions only affected yourself, yes. But as we know, that's not the case here.
Well, you've just told me that everybody's complied. 90% of people have complied. So
I didn't say 90%. I said most. I said most of the time, most of the people have complied with most of their instructions. Yeah, I think we've been amazingly well behaved.
Right. So why can't we be amazingly well behaved after Freedom Day and just sort of look after one another and wear masks where appropriate?
Exactly. That's what I'm suggesting. That's what we should do.
Yeah. But the government doesn't have to. It's not a nanny state. The government doesn't have to say.
Well, it very much depends, Tony. If there's selfish people who aren't remotely interested, in protecting others than themselves, then there should be rules and regulations.
Nick, you've just said there's no selfish people around, or very few.
No, I didn't. I said that people have been obeying the rules.
Right. So
when there are no rules...
So in that aspect, people should be able to understand the rules.
No, Tony, the one does not follow the other. If there are rules, then people know what to do. If there are no rules, then people will just revert to their own selfish ways. I'm guessing that includes you too. Tony, it's been, mostly painful, actually. It's been mostly painful, but I got to go because I'm past the break and I just can't stand it anymore. You go on your maskless way, as I'm sure you will. Chelsea, hello, Peter.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking Boris Johnson loves writing books about Churchill. I wish he'd do something Churchillian just once in his life and make a decision and say, that's it, it's over. And no politicians, they're terrified to make a decision. I mean, Churchill probably sent thousands of men to their deaths making wrong decisions in battle, but that was the deal. You're in a war. Why can't he just make a decision and say, this is over now? And take the consequences.
Right.
The silly lockdown and these silly masks. I mean, otherwise it's going to go on forever.
But he has made many decisions based on his own desire for a positive headline or whatever strategy he is follling at the time, and it has led to a lot of deaths, just as you described them with Churchill.
Everyone will make mistakes. I've made mistakes my entire life. If people die in a war because the politicians or the generals make a mistake.
Yeah.
But life has to go on.
But
We
that,
can't
that's not something to
lock ourselves
encourage,
up
though,
forever.
surely. We're not to encourage people to make mistakes, just for the hell of it.
Well, the problem is we don't get an alternative point of view. When you had the Brexit debate, which went on for at least 3 years,
Still
virtually
is.
every other night on the TV, there were people screaming at one another from both sides.
Still are.
Yeah, but you don't get this in with the COVID. We get no alternative debate. We get one side all the time.
I'm not sure that's true. We get no end. I mean, there was hundreds of thousands of people marched through London the other day who were not all. I mean, there was various issues that they were, campaigning for, but amongst which were getting rid of masks, throwing off the shackles, getting our freedom back. If I'm waggling my fingers in the air to denote inverted commas, because it's only a specific, restricted type of freedom that they're offering us. But from not being able to go to a restaurant without getting your blooming phone out and punching in a code and all of that. That's what they're offering. And the other side of that is a medical professional after a medical professional is saying, no, don't do it, it ain't worth it. So there's your debate right there, Peter. South Woodford, hello, Ian.
Hello, Nick. We spoke the other day, and don't worry, I'm not going to talk about pallets, all right? So don't worry.
Okay.
No. With this business, as I said to you the other day, and I think you agree, that of having to have a license or a passport that you've had both vaccinations has got to be done. And any of these youngsters, and I know even older people that say, I don't want a vaccine, I don't want a vaccine. They've got to understand, it's not only just getting the actual virus, it's the knock-on effect it's having on the NHS. I've got a very close relative who wasn't seen by a doctor for nearly 8 months. And now it's been that she's got cancer of the esophagus.
Yes, that's not a unique story, but we have to remember that waiting lists were at an all-time high before anybody had heard of COVID. This is not new. The COVID has not done this to the NHS. If you want to point the finger, it's 10 years of austerity.
Yeah, but on that, with this, if it was just to see the local GP, it definitely still wouldn't have been 10 months. That would have been that they would have sort of been able to be seen because they weren't coming out to see patients or you couldn't go in to see them. So that is slightly different. I'm not saying, yeah. And also I had it like when you did go into the hospitals, they were full of people because the GPs weren't seeing them. But with the business with October, I think it's really just trying to say, look, you've got 2 months or 3 months grace. Get your jabs done. And as you said, and other people, even another person I have a Barney with online, why haven't they used the footballers? Why haven't the footballers like Gareth Southgate's come on? But it wouldn't take 2 minutes to sort of yes, all right, we should have said to you, we agree with taking the knee, but please help us with this. Because the virus does not care whether you're white, black, Chinese, anything. It still hits you.
Okay, well, I don't think we can blame footballers for anything that is surrounding this issue, but I take your point. Thank you, Ian. Chertsey, Richard.
Hello, yes.
Hello, yes.
That's Mr. Abbott, isn't it?
Yes.
Good. Can I speak to your friend there?
Who?
Or just you?
Just
me.
me.
In that case, I have to speak to you.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Abbott. Right. What I'm trying to say is,
yes.
Is it all right that HRH THTTT does not speak the Queen's English?
HR Puffenstuff. Are you talking about Hazza, out of Hazza and Sparkles?
Prince Charles, him. THTTT, as in the
Chaz.
heir to the throne.
Chaz, yes.
He does not speak the Queen's English. I heard him say the other day, let's see if I can recall this, to try and, he said.
Try and?
Yes.
What, just that? Try and?
He should have said try to, which is the Queen's English.
Well, give me the whole sentence.
I can't remember that. That's unfair of you. I can't remember that.
Well, you can only remember 2 words. I mean, that's hardly evidence, is it?
Don't you believe me, though?
No, certainly not.
Well, if you listen to the recording he made about
I will do nothing of the sort
or something,
yes, no.
He did say try and, whereas, of course, you will agree with me that he should have said try to.
I do not agree with you.
Oh, well, that's Queen's English. Try and is not Queen's English.
Is it?
That's correct. You don't even know yourself, do you?
I've got no idea what I don't know what I'm talking about or what you're talking about. All I know is that Prince Charles, he doesn't appear to have consonants in his vocabulary. He speaks exclusively in vowels. There's no consonants at all. He actually sounds like somebody letting out the air of an inflatable pool. No offence. Thanks a lot for pointing that out, Richard. Good work. Let us know if anything else occurs to you. And straight away, I mean it. Sutton. Hello, Russell.
How you doing, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Right. Now, I know Boris lives in your head rent-free, doesn't he? Because that's all you ever go on about is Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson, the weather, Donald Trump,
Roger Johnson, yeah, right.
Vaccine passports, what else have we been talking about? We've talked about Gary Glitter. I mentioned the National Gallery briefly. Gauguin came up, if you can believe that.
But normally, Nick, like, when I listen to you, all you go on about is like Boris Johnson.
Yeah,
on
and on.
The problem is,
Yes.
The problem is, Nick, you are the problem.
I am the problem.
I'll tell you the problem. You and your other presenters, mostly on LBC,
James O'Brien.
Your hatred of Boris.
Yes.
Your hatred of Boris. Now,
why do you think we hate Boris? Okay, go ahead.
Right.
The reason why.
Let me get my point. Right. The reason why you hate Boris
is.
Right.
Yes.
Because and the reason why Boris can do what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants, because there's no decent opposition. Because the Labour Party is now run by champagne liberal socialists that live in London, like yourself and your other presenters.
Russell, I'm not. Okay, hang on. Whoa. Are you telling me that the people that run the Labour Party are more elite than the Conservative Party?
I would say they all come mostly from North London and live in this liberal elite bubble in London.
So why do you prefer...
And that is your late... Wait a
minute. No, I didn't.
You voted for Jeremy Corbyn.
No, I did not vote for Jeremy Corbyn. At no point...
you didn't vote for Jeremy Corbyn?
I did not ever vote for Jeremy Corbyn.
Really?
Yes, really.
Yeah, okay.
Russell, you're going to have to take my word on that because, I mean, you obviously don't know better than me who I voted for in the privacy of a polling booth. I am telling you with great honesty, which is not the kind of honesty that your hero Boris Johnson would offer. I am telling you I have not voted ever for Jeremy Corbyn. I haven't voted Labour in... I can't remember how long. It's absolutely decades. Russell, that's an asinine thing to say. You're voting for Boris Johnson to stick it to the elites, is what you're saying.
No. I never said that. I never said that at all.
That is the summation of what it is that you're saying.
I voted Tory all my life. The only time I wasn't going to vote Tory was probably about 95 or 94, 95 when I was absolutely sick of John Major. And I would have voted for John Smith. I would have voted for John Smith at the time.
But you said you voted Tory all your life.
Yes, apart from the time in 93, 94, it could have been 95 when John Major became leader. And that John Smith was a proper Labour leader. And since Blair, Labour have had nothing.
But now, Russell, they're not going to appeal to you because, by your own admission, you are a lifelong Tory voter. So why are you interested?
Nick, you need a decent opposition. You need a decent opposition, mate.
Russell, at some point, you're going to have to stop blaming Keir Starmer and start blaming the people. The people have a choice. Your choice is Boris Johnson and his cavalcade of clowns, this kleptocracy that we got in at the moment, which is less a government, as I've said many times before, and more a smash and grab raid. If you're saying that that's your only option because Keir Starmer has earned a bit of money and lives in London, well, that's just such an asinine position, Russell. I don't even know where to begin with you.
Well, Labour now, the Labour Party is a North London liberal elite bubble.
Russell, compare them to the Conservative Party, because that's what you're doing. So you're saying that the Labour Party, to reiterate, is
So
more
why did-
of the
so why did
elite
all the north
than
of
the.
England
Listen to me.
Why did all the north of England vote for Boris then for the
Okay,
first time ever?
Not all of England, but the reason,
Well, most, come on,
reason
most
is
did, come on.
Brexit.
No.
Yes,
and there's
absolutely.
no decent opposition. You need a decent Labour leader. Keir Starmer will not win that next election. You know that. You know that better than me, mate. He will not win that next election. And Boris will win another massive majority, 80 or 90 seats, and it goes on for another 4 or 6 years.
Right, on a minority of the vote, he will win another stonking majority. Yeah, quite possibly. but at some point, you have to stop blaming Keir Starmer and start blaming
I never
the people.
blamed Keir Starmer. What I said was you need a decent opposition, and that is why the Tory party can do what they want,
Russell,
when they
there
want, how
is
they want.
there
And
is
there's
an
nothing you can do.
opposition. That you have a choice. It is not just a singular choice because you don't happen to like the leader of the Labour Party, because he's not entertaining, because he doesn't come through the TV set at you, because you can't go on stage and go, paw, and everybody falls about laughing. That's not who he is. But to suggest that the Labour Party do not represent or are an opposition is ridiculous. Of course they are. You can't possibly think that the Labour Party would be doling out this amount of money to friends and donors that the current regime have been able to get away with. You can't possibly tell me that. You can't possibly tell me that the Labour Party or any other party that might win a general election would have screwed up the response to the COVID virus as much as this current regime. And the reason you can't tell me that is because practically every other country in the world has done better than we have. All of them. This is why it just fogs my mind when people say, oh, well, you know, he's doing his best. And imagine if Jeremy Corbyn had won. Or imagine, what would Keir Starmer be doing in that position? Well, we know what they would have done. We know what another government would have done, because fortunately there's every other country in the world to compare ourselves to. We're not going through something that's unique here. Our response to it is unique. And I just keep seeing, Boris says all people over the 80 should be allowed to die. And that's followed by a great poll boost for Boris Johnson in those over 80. You know, I exaggerate to make a point, but that happens virtually on a daily basis. He says something just absolutely god-awful, and his popularity goes up, Russell, because people like you say just absolutely stupid things like, he's doing his best. What would have happened if somebody else had been? Well, as I say, we know. Just compare ourselves to anyone else, anywhere else. And there's practically no country in the world that's done as bad as we have, and continues. We were trending on Twitter as Plague Island. Do you think that things are going well if other countries are describing us as Plague Island? We have to stop blaming the Labour Party and start blaming people, the public. Their gullibility knows no bounds. At this point, they actually want to be lied to. They enjoy it. Same as in America with Trump. All that stuff he came out with. Rigged election. They're still believing it. Hillary's emails. On and on. They want to be lied to. People, like I said before, people have joined a gang, and that argument I hear over and over again. That last caller was not unique. I've heard that virtually every week for the past 5 years. I've been waiting for a caller in Shropshire called Martin. Martin.
Nick, I have been waiting, actually.
You've been waiting?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a few things to say to you now, so I hope you let me finish. Firstly, if the moon is wobbling in the 2000s, it wobbles every 18 years. It wobbled in 2000. Did it wobble? I didn't feel it wobbling in 2000.
I didn't feel it either. No, I felt no wobble.
No, absolutely not. Secondly, if the animal I'm eating is vegetarian, then therefore me eating it isn't bad. Thirdly,
Thirdly,
I saw.
This is your third point. There was the wobble, and then there's if you eat an animal that's a vegetarian, that makes you a vegetarian. Yes. So third point.
I stand corrected. Apologies. If chemtrails are not made of their poison? Chemtrails are not poisonous haze. They are the air evaporating. They're condensing above the wing. Fourthly, we've just had
This is your fifth point now.
I stand corrected. Fifth point. If we've just eaten I've just had a dinner party, and that's why everyone else has gone to bed now. But I've stayed up to speak to you.
Right.
But
ain't I lucky?
You are, Nick. If let me finish, Nick. We've had some delicious steaks, and we enjoyed them very much.
Yeah.
And therefore, if our enjoyment is tangible and meaningful, then therefore,
it isn't.
Nick, it was delicious.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But he does sound completely refreshed.
Booze.
A little bit, yeah. Okay, glad to hear about your excellent evening, Martin. Thanks a lot, mate. I'm at work, but don't worry about me. Richmond, hello, Steve.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah. I think it's an impossible task for Starmer or for anyone else. I think the problem is one of alignment. You've got the. I always think of it in terms of if you were to take the 10 sort of main centre-left type issues, you put them all on a bit of paper, and you went to the Parliamentary Labour Party and the members and said, right, you can have 3 of those. There's a genie in the lamp here, and you can have 3 of those, and then you went to what I'll call the traditional working class Labour voters and said, here's the same list of 10. You can have 3 of those.
Yeah.
I bet you the 3 would be totally different from the 3 chosen by the PLP and the members. They're moving apart. That's why I found it so interesting. People, the discussion about, well, why don't they join up with the Lib Dems and the Greens? It's already too big of a church. You've got to prioritise issues, and
but there is.
The Lib Dems would say in the coalition. What would the first? Imagine they came close enough that the Lib Dems actually could turn it.
Yes,
in a coalition.
Yes, but I understand what you're saying. But other countries, an enormous number of other countries that are our major competitors are run by coalitions who would not agree with each other on most policies, but they managed to rub along for the benefit of the majority of the voters who would otherwise have their opinions and their votes ignored were they not to have formed a coalition of pretty much like-minded people.
Well, imagine it, but just saying the Lib Dems, the first condition they would have for a coalition would be a second referendum. So sell that to the Red Wall.
Right. Okay, thanks, Steve. Waterloo. Hello, Maria.
Brilliant. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, okay, I've got 3 points. Electric foot scooters are, idiots will take them out when they've had too much to drink, want to save on a taxi. There's been 2 injuries. I don't know if there's been a death, but can you imagine?
There has.
There has, I think, yes. The football hooligans, when they get out of the ground, let's hire a few scooters, tear up the bloody town. They're death traps.
Well, you could say the same for bicycles or cars or anything that goes faster than walking.
That's not right. I argue against that because bicycles, you would wear a helmet. Scooters, my husband, Kerry, rides Lambrettas and old Vespas, always wears a helmet, as I do, when I'm on the back of it.
I tell you what, scooters to me look inherently unsafe as well. Scooters,
no, they're fabulous. Best way to get around London.
But the wheels are so small. It's such,
it doesn't matter.
They seem so unbalanced.
Unsafe. Yeah, no. Well, it's about centre of gravity. You know, your weight is in the middle of them, and bending when you turn a bend. But anyway, I must say to you, that woman who brought up health records, I was appalled when I heard that. If you had to opt out by July the 24th, but you can still do it, everyone.
You can, yeah. Whether they actually pay any attention to it is another thing entirely. As I filled out my form and handed it over to the nice lady at reception at the GP's, I thought, they're not going to read this. But perhaps they will. Feltham. Hello, Monica.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Talking about chips.
Chips.
Yes, I have a fish and chip shop across the road, and there's nothing like a bag of chips that you eat on the walk home. Because once they're wrapped up, they're just not the same. And I've actually, when somebody has come out of the fish and chip shop with a bag of chips and I could smell the heat and the salt and vinegar, I've actually put my hand in and taken one and said, I'm really sorry, but I couldn't resist.
Wow. You are lucky to be alive, Monica.
No, I don't care. Hygiene goes out the window if you see somebody with a bag of fresh fish and English chips.
Yeah, it sounds like you're addicted to me.
I think so. I think we're thinking the same sort of thing.
But, Monica, when you said two conflicting things, can I just delve a little bit deeper?
Conflicting? I don't do conflicting.
I think you do. Yeah, you said you got one over the road, and they're best eaten on the way home. How long does it take you to walk over the road?
Oh, about 6 minutes.
Wow, that's a very wide road.
But I mean, about 5 or 6 minutes. If you're eating the chips, you walk slower.
Oh, you walk slowly, right? Okay. Well, always pay attention to the conditions of the road.
But once they're wrapped up in that paper, they're all soggy and they're not the same.
Right. It's a steam bath, exactly.
But the smell of somebody with a bag of chips along the road, it just gets me, and I have to put my hand in and take one, COVID or not. I'm sorry.
And if they've actually run out of chips, Monica, just help yourself to their fingers. Just lick the juice off their fingers, and they'll thank you later. Colchester. Hello, Chris.
Hiya.
Chris.
Hello. Hi, Nick. All right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Just if Boris Johnson has been double jabbed and he's already had COVID, I don't understand why he would have to self-isolate. I mean, what's the point?
His rules.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. But, I mean, UCL London, they did a study 2 or 3 months ago saying we'd already had herd immunity, so surely if the government wanted to get out of this mess, they would have listened to them, but obviously they don't.
How have we got herd immunity?
Through natural infection. Well, the thing is, like, listening to people like Mike Eden, who was a ex vice president of Pfizer, SARS-CoV-2 is 80% the same as SARS-1, and people had they did a test last year in January, and people who had SARS-1 had immunity, T-cell immunity. Everyone goes on about antibodies, but there's lots of different immunity. There's T-cell immunity, B-cell, whatever. And they had T-cell immunity 17 years later to SARS-1, and SARS-2 is 80% the same as SARS-1. So their argument, and Sutrit Bhakti also, who's like one of the most cited microbiologists in Europe, is saying the same, and he's citing studies as well to prove that fact.
Well, I don't know about facts. There's 1,200 scientists who, on the other hand, say, oh, no, it isn't.
I know. Well, I want to hear that debate, and it seems like the scientists that are saying the opposite. Like, take, for example, the Great Barrington Declaration, and you mentioned Sweden earlier, and I think they did a great job. I went to Sweden last year, and the thing is, like, people talk about COVID deaths, but we forget about lockdown deaths, and how many deaths are we going to have to accept, like, to put up with these cases of COVID? We've got to get a balance. And it's not just Sweden either. It's Texas and Florida. Florida, Ron DeSantis employed that policy of the Great Barrington Declaration of focused care, of protecting the elderly and using treatment early rather than letting people go on a ventilator and just go into hospital until they go blue and then they die. And Texas, they had a boxing match a couple of months ago with Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo Alvarez with 73,000 fans without masks. And then a month or two later, they're having no deaths. So what are we doing differently?
Is that
it just
true?
doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm not sure that's true.
It really is.
Well, you say it is, but I will fact check you. Don't worry about that, Chris. All right, thanks a lot, mate. On the other hand, we've got 50,000 a day, and hospitals are turning ordinary patients away because they ain't got no room no more. So there's that. Bournemouth. Hello, Philip.
Hello, Nick. All these shells that are empty is due to this wonderful pinging that this big Jesse that we got running our country and that wonderful idiot Hancock that cost us 31 billion. That's what's causing our problem.
No.
Nothing else.
No,
That's
it isn't.
what's causing it.
Brexit.
There's no shortage.
Brexit.
Because they're all isolating.
Brexit.
That's what they're doing.
It's Brexit.
They're going past shops, they're being pinged, so they just isolate.
It's Brexit.
It's causing shortages.
Yeah. But the shortages were in existence before the ping-demic. Ain't got nothing to do with it.
Oh, it's increased dramatically since. All the shops where the people are not out, all they want to do is turn these damn things off. It's a piece of crap, absolute rubbish.
Right.
You know,
Well, if you only spend £37 billion on something, what do you expect?
Listen, I'm 71 years of age.
Tell me to listen.
I haven't had either of the coronaviruses, and I won't take them. This is a judgment from our Lord. Look it up in Isaiah. It even talks about the coronavirus. If people
No, it doesn't.
have got it in their brain, they can work it out.
It says no such thing. God,
Oh, yes,
are you
it does.
actually quoting the Bible at me like it's a predictor
Yes,
of the future?
Isaiah. You read the whole of Isaiah and you'll understand it.
Yeah, okay.
It's actually in there.
Well, yeah,
You can read it and it'll tell you all about it.
I'm sure you're
Yeah,
absolutely
it
right.
is.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what
And we're all
Jesus
gonna-
said. Yeah, all right. Thanks a lot, Philip. St John's Wood. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Michael.
Yes. Well, you were
Are
talking
you okay?
about. I'm fine, thank you. Well, I'm intellectually irked and I'm worried.
You're intellectually worried.
Irked and worried.
Oh,
by these
irked.
passports.
Right.
By these passports, but you've been talking back to what you were talking about, the COVID passports. And you were talking about Boris. You lost your train of thought you
Yes.
suggested before the news. I doubt it for a while. But on the Boris thing, he didn't really lie to the nation, did he? He merely misrepresented things and he misinformed us.
Are you sure? Misinformed us. I assume you're being sarcastic.
Well, it remains to be seen, won't it? Maybe
No, I don't
he'll
think
come
so.
up with some sort of apology in
Yeah, right.
in that way.
Sure. Yeah, I think the ship sailed on that and sunk.
Yes, but it was down to his subalterns that the ship sank
Oh,
with.
yeah.
So, anyway, back to the passports.
He was sleeping
So-
below decks at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, back to the passports. It's very frightening. Today, I spoke to a friend that I hadn't seen for ages, for years. Got back in touch. I was trying to arrange to see each other. Starts asking me about masks and about vaccinations. And he's not going to see me because I'm not double vaxxed.
Right.
And I said, what? You're not going to see anybody because they're not double vaxxed? He said, yes, well, they're kind of the unclean because they're not vaccinated.
Oh,
what?
Dirty.
So we have this danger of, just like the Jews with the Nazis became the unclean, you know, this idea that people that aren't vaccinated
Uh-oh.
are unsafe. And they're the ones.
He just used the N word. I think once you start talking about Nazis, comparing people to Nazis, then that's a big mistake, huge.
Well, I'll apologise for that then. Anyway, but
people who don't want to hang about with other people that haven't been double vaccinated are actual Nazis. Is that your position? Yes.
No, not quite.
They're not quite Nazis. Okay, close to.
I'll retract that. Let's just say it's not sound thinking, is it, to accuse people of, or think of people being unvaccinated as the unclean?
Well, the unclean is taking it to a bizarre place. But if you think that they are less healthful to be around, then that has some basis in truth, doesn't it?
Well, the idea that if things go wrong, it will be the unvaccinated, when really the number of people that are double vaxxed and still ending up in hospital
is very small.
From COVID is not small.
No, it's very small. Do you have the numbers there?
My wife does the research on this and suggests it's 40%. What was it from the minister's mouth?
40%
said and retracted
of what?
From Chris Whitty's.
40% of
60% of cases were in hospital, he said, in one of his announcements, and then retracted it.
60%, but you're not saying what, though? 60% of what?
Of COVID cases in hospital, of double jabbed people.
I very much doubt it.
Well, anyway, it's not completed its clinical trials, so I'm not having it yet. But why should I be viewed as unclean?
Well, listen, you're making a choice. Other people are making a choice based on your choice. How can you get to choose, but they don't? An echoing silence.
They did get to choose, but it's all.
No, but you're complaining. You are complaining about them being able to make a choice about their own health. You have made a choice about your health. They are making a choice about theirs. Why is your choice valid and theirs isn't?
Well, let's invert that. Why is my choice invalid?
But I'm not saying that I'm not saying that your choice is invalid. I'm saying that both choices are valid. But you are putting a level on theirs that you do not accept for your own.
If we do have a vaccine passport, then people that don't want to get vaccinated, they'll be excluded, won't they? It'll be. They'll be prejudice.
They will be excluded from things that the government say you are required to produce a vaccine passport. Yes, and I'm as alarmed about all of that as anybody. I mean, to give an authoritarian regime more control over your life is just an alarming prospect.
And what is the next illness to go on or disease to go on the passport?
Well, I'm sure, if we do get passports, I'm sure that it has not, that it is not a novel thought. I'm sure that it has actually occurred to ministers what China does, which is essentially give you points on citizenship. If you are a good citizen and you pick up rubbish that you find blowing around in the street, you get a point. If you are a poor citizen and you reel home drunk from the pub, then you get a minus point.
Negative.
And minus points do not make prizes. That's for sure. You don't get to be someone who can take part in, ordinary civil society. You get to stay home and you get to shut up in China, I'm sure. And you accrue...
Have you shut me up? Or
no.
Are you still listening?
Well, it depends. What are you going to say?
It's a big brother, isn't it? This passport, this exclusion. What if you're exempt because you can't get double vax?
That's a different argument entirely. If you're exempt, then you're not what we're talking about.
But my point is that the unvaxxed are being seen as the unclean.
Well,
that's dangerous.
Not unclean. Again, that's the wrong word to use. They are less healthful to be around. I mean, that's
Let's
just
put
obvious.
it another way. They're the
just
dangerous
obvious.
part of the populace.
Yeah, right. Aren't they?
But No, they're not, because people are still getting it who are double vaxxed and they're in hospital.
Yeah, but a very small number. I think that number of 60% that you gave me is wrong. I will check it. I will actually. You're forcing me.
Check his announcement.
You are forcing me to do homework.
He said we should. Yes, I am. He said we should expect to see greater numbers of people in hospital who have been double vaxxed.
Well, that's okay. So that's completely different to what you just said earlier on. You said that he said that 60% of the people in hospital with this virus have been double vaxxed. Now we're at he would expect it in the future. Would you like?
Okay.
You're not walking back. You're running backwards on this. Another echoing silence.
Well, if that isn't telling you things, it's just far too dangerous to be happy about the passport scenario. It really is.
Well,
I'm not happy about it at all.
I don't know who you're describing as being happy about it, but I'm not happy about it. I very much doubt that anybody is happy about it. I mean, some people who assume only the best intentions of the government might think, oh, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, then, that old argument. Unfortunately, as we know, what constitutes wrong changes with the regime. And what might be acceptable now might not be acceptable in the future. And at that point, if the law has already been made, then we're screwed. We might already be screwed. Wanstead. Hello, Sophie. Oh, Sophie. Is there anybody
hello.
out
Sorry,
there?
Nick, I nearly
Yes,
choked.
Sophie.
How are you? Can you hear me?
No.
Before I go on to my main point, I was.
Oh my God! There's a sub point. Yes.
2 sub-points. Ranjit was right and wrong. It was 24 million, but it was 9 million out of the 24 million.
What was?
And I don't think they should donate it to the NHS
wait!
as wonderful
Back
as
up.
it is.
What was 9 million out of the 24 million?
So the players are getting 9 million of the 24 million, which they're going to donate part of. Hello?
Are we on? Are we on speakerphone, or are you listening to me through the radio so you're hearing me on delay? What's going on here?
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello?
Hello?
You can hear me.
No, I can't. I can't hear you.
But the other thing, I think you can hear me and you're just being naughty.
Is there anybody
there? The other thing was the...
Hello?
Hello? But yes, the 20... Can you hear me?
No.
Hello?
Hello?
And the other thing, I'll just carry on talking, is, Nick, I think you're being really curmudgeonly.
What?
Because I don't follow football, but I do follow England when they play the World Cup and the European Cup.
Associated
Cups,
yes.
I don't have a TV, so I just watch the updates. Yeah.
You don't have a TV, so you just watch the update, right? Okay.
This is the tonic we needed.
Oh, please. If this is the tonic we needed, then this country's in big trouble.
This is the tonic we needed.
Sophie, are you speaking to me on one of those wait a minute, are you speaking to me on one of those satellite phones? Because there seems to be a massive delay between me saying something and you hearing it. She's hitting the phone.
Really? Really?
Really what? I don't know. You're answering something that I said so long ago. I forgot what the question was. Anyway, we'll get a better line at some point in the future. How does that sound? 03. There are no problems here. West Ealing, Anthony.
Oh, hello, Nick. Well, I won't be watching the football. What a boring game it is. I was made to go to football for about 5 years because my brother was in charge of me. Typical working class culture, football, and
he was in charge of you.
Yes, my mother put my older brother, 6 years older than me, to look after me all the time.
Right.
Which is not nice for him, but that was my mother. My mother was like a kind of Mrs. Thatcher, you know, in a family way. Controlling.
That sounds terrible.
Well, she was good in many ways, but unlike Thatcher, but she was controlling. And my poor brother, 6 years older than me, and he was typical working class, like football. And it was all I can remember is terraces at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the winter, we could never go to afford to go in the stand, which might be a bit better. And freezing chilblains and a boring game.
Yeah.
So I hated it all, and I still dislike it. And I feel sorry for all the people that only got football in their life, and because they hadn't got the skills and earned the money, they would like to do what the footballers are doing. And all they're doing is shouting rude, nasty things from the terraces with a low grade, no intellect at all, you know.
No. We're surrounded by morons, Anthony. I keep saying it over and over. Morons.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're surrounded by morons.
Yeah, and you go to the nearest football match, and the morons in there, they haven't got the skills. They like the skills to be well-paid football, although they never get them.
Yeah, so they do the shouting instead.
Yeah,
they say.
It's a Lucas game, and long before, because I'm 84, long before there were any coloured or black people in this country, they would shout nasty things at the players. Yeah. And of course, when long past when there were any black players, so there weren't any black players when I was going to football, when I was forced to go to football. That was a gift to them because they could shout at the black players. It's not racism, it's football. It's lookism and insulting the people, whatever they are. They don't have to be black.
It's not racism, it's football. Well, that's an interesting point of view there, Anthony. OK, thanks for that. Got to go. Let's have a call in beautiful downtown Uxbridge. Jonathan.
Hi, Nick. You all right?
Yes, good, thanks.
This whole celebrity space race with Bezos and Branson, for me, it's a bit like the football in 1966. I'm only 35, and I'd love to sort of be part of the new kind of space generation. All through my childhood, I was like, I'd love to be there, sort of seeing man land the moon. And now we might be getting back to that point. None of these government organisations have got any money anymore, so it's going to be down to like Bezos and.
Are you kidding me? They haven't got any money anymore. We spent more on an app that sits on your phone that doesn't actually work. That people are switching off. It works so badly. We spent 10 times more on that than NASA spent putting a rover on Mars.
It's mad, isn't it? And it doesn't even work.
I just said that.
Yeah, it's but this is the thing, a lot of. I think space has been kind of a lot of people, the public at large think, it's not the best place to spend your money because there's more important things. And that's the problem. So it is now down to kind of celebrities to do that, and if we can get someone back on the moon.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Who cares? We've been to the moon. There's nothing there.
You've got to get back to the moon to go to Mars. That's the issue.
There's nothing there either.
But is it not the kind of excitement of exploring space and kind of?
Well, it would be exciting if I was in that rocket being squirted up into space, but not looking at it. Who cares? I'd rather watch Thunderbirds.
You don't know what's up there. We've only
yes, I do. We do know what's up there. Nothing. There's nothing up there.
There could be a little green man on the other side.
There's seriously no little green men. There's not even microbes. I mean, they're beside themselves with the notion that they might find a microbe. Who cares? How are you going to converse with a microbe?
I suppose on a serious point, I mean, they are saying the future of this planet lies in space. With telecommunications.
You know what? You know what? The future of this planet's waste lies in space. People are looking at the moon for a place to dump all our rubbish.
Well, maybe, but I think we have to kind of look outside. I've heard quite a lot about kind of solar panels, putting solar panels up in space that could really kind of capture sun's rays.
Oh, sure, yeah, that'll work. What are we going to bring it down on a wire?
Well, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we got, I guess if billionaires are willing to kind of invest in this sort of technology, hopefully, you've got to be optimistic. You've got to hope that there's got to be a benefit to it, to humankind.
Yeah, no, to them. Not to humankind, to them. Do you seriously think that they're in it for the benefit of humankind? No.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Richard Branson's got some moles, I think. I don't know about Bezos, but I think Richard Branson is kind of, what he's pioneered in his lifetime, I think, he's a cause for good, I think. I know he gets a lot of bad press, but...
Well, why do you think he gets bad press, then, if he's a force for good?
Well, trouble is everyone gets bad press these days, haven't you? Only got to say something on Twitter that kind of it goes against the grain and you're berated for years.
No, I think if maybe they contributed their fair share and they didn't spend so much money on silly boys' toys and actually, acted like normal human beings and conducted their affairs like normal human beings are forced to, instead of being essentially a cloud of mist for legal purposes, then yes, I would call them a force for good. Tulse Hill, Hugh.
Yes, I'm here. Oh, good. I've got you at last. Thank goodness. I hesitate to ask this because I was given a sort of alert early in the morning because someone was filling in for Steve Allen, who was ill.
An alert?
Warning!
Yes.
That sort of, yes. But unfortunately, it's not an amusing subject, despite the fact I find your programme very, very entertaining under normal circumstances.
Under normal circumstances?
Yeah, until this happened.
What?
And you were talking about the slaughterhouses, and I believe I would like the details of what you said, because I can't remember. You worked in a slaughterhouse. I find it deeply upsetting.
I didn't.
Bear with me. I'm sorry it's not a live
I did not work in a slaughterhouse.
Good.
I worked in a pie factory.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
I apologise.
The animals were completely dead by the time they got to us. Otherwise, they'd have crawled out underneath the pastry.
Well, that's slightly better, I suppose. But you saw some pretty gruesome things, I imagine.
I saw great vats of, talk about wobbling. I saw great vats of wobbling, gelatinous, meat-like product, which is okay if you see it in a pie, but is not okay if you see it in a vat on wheels that's 6 foot across.
Yes, I can imagine that can't be pleasant.
I don't think you can imagine, Hugh.
Well, perhaps not, but then you're not 71, and I am.
71 years old?
Yes.
What, after a certain age, your imagination goes?
A lot goes, but yes.
Just imagine the most vile thing you've ever seen in a vat and double it.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm wrong in the sense that you did not work in what I call the nasty end of a slaughterhouse.
Yeah. But what difference does it make? That. I mean, the animals were still dead. Somebody had to kill them, and then they got sent to us. They got chopped up into little bits and then sent to us. So, and then you eat them. So you're guilty too, animal killer.
Well, very little. In fact, I eat hardly any meat. The only meat would be in a certain breakfast sausage.
Guilty.
And I eat, not quite, not fully.
Absolutely. I mean, if somebody made a breakfast sausage out of you, which part would you like to give up?
Well, that's cannibalism, isn't it, or something?
Well, it depends who's doing the eating. Maybe give it to a pig. That's not cannibalism. That's lunch to a pig.
Yeah, you've got me in knots.
Yeah.
Well, I've only asked for them. It's my own fault. Okay. No,
How can you have a position against killing animals and yet eat them?
With great difficulty. Well, I don't eat, as I say, I eat virtually nothing. I eat all this vegan
You
stuff,
just said sausages.
No. I have breakfast sausage, which contains a very small amount of meat, and that is all.
Well, okay, I'll go back to my original question. Somebody is going to make a meal out of a very small part of you. Which bit do you want to give up?
I have to plead ignorance. I don't know. Right. I don't know.
Well, point to a part.
Sorry? Pardon?
Give us an area, a vague area.
I'm lost. Sorry.
Right, okay.
Perhaps, I mean, I know you can tie me up in knots. Of course you can. That goes...
It's just a bit weird to have a position against killing animals while also admitting that you eat them, even though in small amounts.
Well, when you say weird, I mean, how many people could do the nasty work and then say, "Oh, well, at least I kill the food I eat"? Very, very few, because it's all behind closed doors, as you know.
Right. I mean,
Not in every
people
country
don't.
it's like that.
People like you who eat sausages. I mean, no sausage does not
No,
look.
well, breakfast sausage
Wait
has
a minute.
very small.
What difference does it make? Breakfast sausage? Well, it doesn't make any difference the time of day you eat it. That animal still had to die for your.
No, it's called. No, sorry. I'm sorry. It's the name, a trade name. It's called breakfast sausage.
Right.
There's nothing to do with the time of day.
You better not eat breakfast sausage at lunch or dinner, because that would just be weird.
Well,
it's probably written on the packet. You enter into a contract not to eat this sausage after 10 a.m.
Oh, I wouldn't sign anything like that.
I think you've agreed to the terms and conditions when you purchased it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. As you've gathered, I'm new to this game, and I'm a lot older than you, so I'm not exactly. Don't have your verbal dexterity, unfortunately.
You don't have to be verbally dexterous to know that you can't maintain a position on killing animals while also admitting that you eat them, albeit in small amounts and only at breakfast. I mean, just because it happens in the morning doesn't mean to say that you are innocent. You are guilty.
No. Sorry. It's not. It's nothing to do with the time of day. It's just something called a well-known supermarket calls it.
Right.
It's not a sausage.
Right.
It's not a sausage in the normal sense.
Does it contain meat?
Presumably, yes, a little bit.
Oh my God, he doesn't even care.
I do care.
You heartless killer.
But we've skillfully got off the point about whether you say you only dealt with the meat side with this pie factory, which is a new one on me, because the presenter at the time didn't mention anything like that.
Which presenter?
He gave, well, whoever it was who was in place of Steve Allen. Yeah, that's right.
He was talking about me.
He was explaining that, and it's odd because it was early in the morning. So Steve Allen, as you know, is 4 o'clock onwards.
Yeah.
This guy, I forget his name.
But this guy was talking about me.
Yes,
he was talking about me working in a slaughterhouse. Why was I the topic of the day on the Steve Allen show? I mean, I know Steve Allen didn't have to go on about me.
No, he wasn't
making up stories about me. Liar! Thanks a lot, Steve. See what you've done. You confused this old gentleman.
Well, I don't know. Old, yes. I don't know about gentleman, but anyway. All I was trying to say was that it was the presenter was in place of Steve Allen.
Yes, in place of Steve Allen. And he was
something
about me. Right. Okay. Well, he wants to mind his own business. I did not kill any animals. Those animals were freshly dead by the time they got to me.
Okay. Well, that's something. Well, I'm glad to hear.
It's not much, but it's something. And finally, we got there. Okay, thanks a lot, Hugh, for whatever that was. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Yeah, hi, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate. What's life like in Tooting?
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
I mean, it's not like Balham. Let's not get carried away, but, Tooting.
Oh, well, no, I'm not far from Balham. I can walk to Balham.
No, you don't want to do that.
No, but I have done. I do it maybe once a week.
No,
I have to get some exercise.
I wouldn't do that. I'd walk in the
opposite. Well, go on the bus.
Walk in the opposite direction.
Why?
Balham.
Balham's very trendy. They've got they closed off some streets and they've got outdoor restaurants. Yeah. People are sitting there like it's in on the continent. The tables are outside.
Right. Yeah, they're sitting in the road. What could be better than that?
Yeah, they closed off the road.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I have called up.
Yeah.
Because the Eton is always coming into the program, and you had the Moroccan guy speaking about education.
Yeah.
And we're always speaking about Eton. But what's interesting is the latest bit of news about Eton. Teaming up with some star academies in the north. They want to give the poorest kids in the country. You know how there was a big debate about white privilege and how a lot of a lot of kids, working class kids, are neglected.
Yeah.
But also there's the whatever background the kids are, ethnic minorities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Eton has actually teamed up with a Muslim man who started a small chain of Muslim schools, but has got about 30 schools running in the poorest parts of the country in the north of England. And Eton now is teamed up with him. He was recently made a Sir, this man.
Yeah.
Someone called Sir Patel or something. But they want to open up, give opportunity to something like 240 pupils to have the Eton school type education.
Yeah, right.
To get them into.
And do you ever pause to think why they might be doing that?
Yeah, well, look. I mean, it's quite interesting what they say, because the headmaster, they're actually paying a lot of money. Eton is funding this.
Right.
Eton is funding it, and they're going to use their own staff to go and teach in these sixth form colleges.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they want them to have that. They're expecting them to have. What's interesting is that to have that Eton mindset of a bit like, what was that?
The Eton mindset is that you were born to rule, and pupils come already with that ingrained in them.
I thought you might like this, because they're also saying they will have the chance to learn Latin.
Oh, for crying out loud.
And have Oxbridge-style tutorials. The thing is to aim to get the poorest people who train them to fit into this Oxbridge thing. And also the idea is that what will make a real difference is not so much the money, but is having social networks and the Eton mindset.
Right.
I thought that might interest you.
It interests me, but not for the reasons stated. I do have detailed files. Let's see if I can come up with it.
No, but you see, I think the thing is they're going back to, Eton is going back to its old history, isn't it? The old history is that, so I found out...
Yeah, so it's so old that it's irrelevant.
No, I mean, it was originally opened for poor boys in the 15th century.
It's so old, it's irrelevant, because it's not for poor boys now.
Well, they're trying to redress things, aren't they? But
yeah,
I think
so. That's the headline. But you might ask yourself why they're doing that.
Well, I think they just want to get bright people into Oxbridge, but they want them to have a certain mindset.
Sure, yeah.
They want to train them.
Yeah, they're keen on levelling up. Yeah.
Oxbridge-style tutorials and the chance to learn Latin and be taught by Eton.
Yeah, well, forgive me if I don't believe the PR release.
The PR? No, it's true. The headmaster is quoted as saying certain things.
Okay.
And he's teamed up with this man who opens up.
Yeah, sure. They're interested in spreading the opportunity about, right? How come we're hearing like what you said 7 seconds ago in the background? You don't have the radio on, do you?
Oh no!
Oh my God!
Oh, sorry. No. Can you hear it? Sorry, I'll come away from it. Oh no, I'm on my mobile phone, of course.
Yeah, right. Okay, is Eton still a charity? Are they still a private school? Still doing that? Are they still a charity? So, because if they are, then you and I and everybody else in this country are subsidising the richest, the children of the richest families in the world.
Yeah, fees at Eton are £44,000 a year.
Right.
44. Yeah, £44,000 a year.
Yeah.
But
it's an organisation that makes millions, and on which, if I'm right in thinking, they're still described as comically a charity, then they're being subsidised by all of us.
No, I don't think. No, they're not a charity. They are using whatever money they've got to help run these three sixth form colleges they want to start open in the poorest areas of the north.
Yeah, Jan, you're just reading me the PR release.
Oh Well, no. I mean, that's what they've said. No,
exactly.
Even Gavin Williamson.
Like I said, you are reading the PR release.
No, look, Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary.
Oh my God! You're not going to quote Gavin Williamson at me, are you? What? This bloke?
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country. Much better than the French have. Much better than the Belgians have. Much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all because we're a much better country than every single one of us.
That guy. That's the fella that you're going to quote at me.
No, I mean it's in this article. He said he's delighted to see Star Academy as a joining forces with Eton.
Yeah. So you are quoting him at me.
That's what he said.
I'm not remotely interested in what he said. Gavin Williamson. Williamson. The bloke who has his picture taken with a whip on his desk. This bloke. That guy.
Anyway. They feel they're doing something to try and give opportunities.
Yeah, they're helping. Sure they are. Yeah, they're levelling up. It's exactly what they're doing. Yeah. Okay, as soon as any other developments occur, I want you to let me know straight away. Okay, Jan, as soon as they put out another press release. Let's have a call in. Putney, Victoria. Victoria?
Yes?
Yes, Victoria.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
What I wanted to say is...
Yes, please speak directly into the phone.
Yes, everybody. wants to win England. Everybody wants to win it.
Everybody wants to win England?
England wants to be, they want the footballers to win England.
England wants the footballers to win England. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, Italy is very strong.
Is it?
Yes, very strong.
Right.
Now, I made Italy 1 year ago. I made Germany win.
You made Italy 1 year ago? Is that
yes, Germany as well.
You made Germany win?
Yes, because I was going out with a baron, so I made Germany win.
You were going out with a what now?
A baron.
What's
Monsieur
that?
Le Baron.
Who's that?
It's a baron. It's a German baron, yes.
You were going out with a baron and you made Germany win, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I made France win.
Yes. Well, because you were going out with...
I was very disappointed. No.
Who were you going out...
I was very disappointed.
Who were you going out with when France won?
Well, I met Mitterrand, but I wasn't going out with Mitterrand.
No.
No. So the thing is, France wasn't very happy that I made him win.
Well, you're making a lot of sense, Victoria.
Yes, so I said that they'll never win again. England is always going to win.
He's always going to win what?
England is always going to be the winner because I live in England.
Right.
Yes?
Right. Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So now what happens is I wanted them to win, and the pub is called The Angel.
Is it?
In Roehampton, yes.
Which pub is called The Angel in Roehampton?
The Angel is a pub in Roehampton.
The Angel is called The Angel in Roehampton, and it's in Roehampton. Well, why didn't you say that?
Yes, that's The Angel, called the pub, is called The Angel.
The Angel pub in Roehampton is The Angel pub in Roehampton. Yes, that's clear.
And everybody was screaming. They wanted England to win.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a man called Barry, and he kept jumping up and down, up and down.
Up and down, yeah.
As high as the television.
Yes.
In the pub.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
So,
I couldn't see it because Barry was jumping up and down.
That's right. They were all excited. I was standing up. I didn't have a chair.
You didn't have a chair?
No.
Where was your chair?
Well, I didn't go in the garden. I came in again.
Right, obviously.
And that's when they first scored. They first scored the first one.
And is that because you came into the garden or out of the garden?
Yes, because I came back.
Because you came back, then we
and
scored.
I stood near the door.
Yeah.
And then two guys came in. Right. And then they scored the goal.
Who were they?
Two black guys.
Right.
I mean, I've known them 5 years, but I've never spoken to them.
No.
Except this day.
Except this day?
Yes.
Which
and
day?
the boss called Sally, she was very happy.
Oh, Sally. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Bonjour, Sally.
Oui, elle s'appelle Madame Sally, oui. Elle est gentille. And she was very, very happy. And you speak French, yes?
No.
You don't. We just said bonjour.
Yeah, well, that's...
Oh, it's like saying buonasera, isn't it? It's the same.
Is it?
Yeah, buonasera, bonjour, same meaning. Guten Abend is German.
Okay.
Arabic is Messer here.
Yeah.
Eh.
So...
Hello.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, hello,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
How do you know I said hello? Hello. I said that to the Queen. Hello.
Yeah. I bet you did. And she said... Bye-bye. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Victoria, for whatever that was. Battersea. Hello, Derek.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Can I listen to you all the time, and we don't agree. We don't agree on everything.
Mm-hmm.
But can I ask you something? Do you accept that all over the world they're giving the vaccine, and this country massively, like 70%, whatever, and it's free of charge? They're not charging anybody for it. It obviously costs a lot of money, and they're giving it to people, and they're saying they've got to have the first jab and the second jab, which I've willingly have, and now you're talking about a booster jab, but it's free. To the people that don't want it and aren't having it, why they're not having it? And the answer is because you can't please all of the people all the time. You only please some of the people some of the time, and people, whatever the situation is, have got different opinions. And for some reason, there's a lot of some people, who don't want to take the vaccine. But is it not proven that? And you were beautiful when you said about Anadin or tablets, and there's all these things. The answer is the vaccine is unbelievably working overall, without a doubt, in a most incredible way. Is that not fair comment?
As far as we can tell, up to this point, the vaccine seems to be going very well, yeah.
And there isn't really any... so the answer is people are quite obviously worried. And why they're worried? Well, part of it has been that the whole campaign from the beginning, which is, I'm saying it, has been geared to, well, people in the older, people over 50, over 60, who've got underlying symptoms. They're the ones that are likely to get it, and then they can't recover because of they got symptoms, and the older they are. And that has brought through to the young, and the youngsters are saying it makes no difference if we get it because we're not going to die from it. So, and I don't need to have it.
Yeah, well, there's always a certain feeling of invincibility in the young. But that is backed up in this particular case by the evidence suggesting that the young, up to now, are less likely to have serious complications. Yes, but although there is evidence that younger people now, perhaps because older people and the more vulnerable have been vaccinated, but hospitals now are seeing an influx of younger people with complications.
Absolutely right. But as society has opened up and the schools have opened up, etc., and the answer is surely, and I'm asking your opinion, that younger people can get it and they can pass it on to older people, and the older people, even though they've been vaccinated, and in principle won't die from it, but some of them could, and some of them do, but we're not too sure really the numbers that come out, because at the end of the day, people die anyway in a massive way.
Yeah.
But the answer is, it's quite clear that if you look at the Scottish match when they all came to London, and the unbelievable amount of Scottish people got it, the answer is
it had the obvious result, yes, the predictable
and the people
result.
that are going to go, you've seen what's happened in Tokyo now, they've got no audiences there. The more people get together, the closer they are, the more they're likely to give it to other people. And so, if people aren't going to get the vaccine, and even though they're saying it don't mind, it's not a problem if they get it, because they're only 25, 30, and
then they will pass it on to other people, yeah.
But they're going to pass it on to other people.
Okay, well, it does seem illogical that the government is, on the one hand, moving to prevent that from happening, while on the other hand, enacting policies that make what you've just described happen as inevitable. I mean, to throw open society and say that nightclubs can open their doors and football grounds can run at full capacity, and etc. and so on, while at the same time presenting yourself as a government that is concerned about new variants and cases rising and so on, is utterly illogical, but totally par for the course for the current regime. Trying to figure out where they're going and what they're trying to do is virtually impossible at this point. I'm not sure they have any idea. Market Harborough. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, Nick. How are you? You well?
Yes, good, thanks.
Hey, Nick, I'm just trying to get my head around all this, because I understand that by having the vaccines, you don't stop transmitting the disease, you don't stop getting it. So surely, what's the objective of making the vaccine mandatory? What are we trying to get to? Because if it's a pro-choice thing, which I believe it should be, if you choose not to have it, then you're only putting yourself at risk and no one else. Or have I fundamentally misunderstood this?
Well, I'm no expert, but as far as I'm aware, if you have had 2 vaccinations, then you are less likely to pass it on. It doesn't mean to say that you are completely immune to catching it. I mean, people still do get ill, but less so, so the suggestion is, than they would have been had they not had the vaccine. But it's the passing it on part that creates the problems. If a vaccine can just go through a population and replicate itself innumerable amounts of times, then then its code does, like typos, it just creates mistakes in its genetic code, which eventually, if it gets lucky...
It doesn't stop you. It doesn't stop you transmitting it. It doesn't stop you getting it. So, I mean, we have definitely heard of double jab people being in hospital, and the whole idea of it, as far as I understand, in my very simplistic mind, is that it would reduce the symptoms of this a lot. So,
well, that's right.
And statistically, we know, there's data out there, we know that if you're a certain age and you're in good health, statistically, you are not going to particularly be subjected to those symptoms. So this is starting. So, and then we asked the question. You may have seen the article in the Independent, whereby Bruce Springsteen was stopping people with I think it was the AstraZeneca. I forgot which one it was now. I'll just try and remind myself which one it was. But one of the variants of the vaccines, he was stopping people coming to his concert. He's now backtracked. And then he's decided that those who's not vaccinated, he's going to have a little quarantine area in his...
I had not heard that, no.
Well, it's a very interesting thing that I have definitely read, and he has backtracked on it.
Right, well, I'm not sure that Bruce Springsteen, of whom I have high regard, I wouldn't take epidemiological advice from Bruce Springsteen.
But we then start questioning the type of vaccine you have, the AstraZeneca... Sorry, it was the AstraZeneca that he was banning. And then I'm at a loss to this, and it just it feels as though there's something that is not quite joining up.
Right, okay, but I think that people may be inclined to believe the worst of this particular regime, just based on everything that everything they've experienced about them up to this point. I think we'll have to assume that not everything they do is awful. Thank you, Jamie. I'm not suggesting that this is the case in this particular instance, but let's assume that we can't expect the worst from them about everything. They don't help their own case in that regard, but what can you do? Basingstoke, Daniel.
Hello there.
Hello
I've
there.
definitely got to say you are definitely a pro-Labour Party fan, but that's another argument entirely. It's all great and wonderful coming out saying buy British. Unfortunately, you can't make products in Britain at the same commercial cost as you can in the Far East. And the problem you've got is the big retailers in the UK that buy these products, the buyers that actually buy them, are too petrified of buying something that the British public won't buy, that they will never put on the shelves a product that's made in Britain. And until that becomes a factor that changes British habits, and i.e. the retailers themselves change their mental states to buy British, it will never happen.
Yeah, but
So
there's no point, Daniel, in putting a product on the shelf that people won't buy. What's the point of that?
But you're saying there's a demand to buy British and we want to create a demand.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the opposite of that. I'm saying that there is no demand to buy British.
Exactly. But this is what Keir Starmer has completely missed. He needs to come out and actually, get the British retailers to buy in to putting British product on the shelf.
Yes, Daniel, again, there's no point in putting a British product on the shelf if the British people won't buy it because it's more expensive.
How do you know they won't buy it?
Because for history. All you have to do is look at the history of commerce in this country. We have serially refused to buy British. Why? Well, there was, in the 1970s, it was very badly made and completely unreliable. And then post that, it was more expensive than the exact same product that we could buy from Japan and China and Taiwan and all of these places. It's got nothing to do with the people that are buying... Excuse me, I'm going to cough. It's got nothing to do with the people that are buying products to place on the shelves in stores. They're only meeting the demand that we, consumers, are providing. It's not their fault, it's our fault. And I'm not a fan of the Labour Party. You don't know anything about me, Daniel. Let's have Glasgow. Robert.
Oh, hello,
yes,
Nick.
Robert.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, go ahead.
Hold on, I take you off speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick, good morning, by the way. I'm really enjoying the show, as usual. So what I wanted to ask you was, what do you think's going to happen on Freedom Monday in London and surrounding districts?
Nothing much on Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or probably the next week after that. But then the following week, then things are really going to start taking off.
I'm looking forward to the carnage. Yeah. I know that sounds pretty bad, but I can just see it leading to another lockdown in England.
I'm sure it will. I'm absolutely convinced of that. If it doesn't, I'll be stunned.
And I'm sure, I don't know if Boris Johnson's thought this through or whatever, but...
You're funny.
Yeah, but no, on a serious note.
Right.
Do you think he's doing this so it'll lead to another lockdown and will have everyone under control?
I think keeping us permanently off kilter and sort of out of sorts seems to be the plan. If it's not the plan, then that seems to be the end result of everything that they're doing.
Yeah. Your point's well taken. That's really all I've got to say.
Okay, well, it sounded like you said it. Is it raining there, Robert?
No, it's not raining. It's a very pleasant night. Nick, it's a very pleasant night. I've got the windows open and I'd say it's about 6 degrees, yeah. It's pleasant.
6?
Yeah.
6?
6 degrees.
Don't you mean 60?
No. 6 degrees. I'm a Celsius man. 6 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is. So in Fahrenheit,
it's close to freezing, isn't it?
No, it's not.
6?
No, it's not.
Well, it is. If 0 is freezing, 6 is very close to freezing. Do you want me to tell you what the weather is like where you are?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm going to, whether you like it or not. It's, at the moment, you're at 15 degrees.
What, Fahrenheit or centigrade?
It
can't be Fahrenheit. It can't be centigrade.
It's centigrade. It's centigrade. 15 If it was 15 Fahrenheit, you would not have the window open. Believe me.
Yeah. Okay, then. Okay, your point's well taken. I'm getting a bit sleepy and a bit dopey. But
okay, then.
Thanks very much.
Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
He's getting a bit sleepy and dopey. At least two of the dwarfs. Millil. Derek. Derek?
Hello?
Yes, Derek.
I've already called.
Called who?
Oh, no. I have a new... I very much like the new title for the Conservative Party, the Self-Servitive Party. Well, I have a new title for the Labour Party, and Boris should be the very first member of it. And the title should represent everything that Boris has done in service for the nation over the past year. Well, the new title is the Hard Labour Club, because that's a hard Labour Party. That's what Boris deserves for his contribution.
Right. OK, well, as soon as you have another thought, Derek, I want you to call somebody else, all right?
Yeah, sure.
OK, thanks. Another satisfied customer. Let's talk to a bloke in Hull. Charles.
Oh, hi, Nick. Hope you're well and that in
Yes.
these, well, rather hot days.
No, it's a little bit chilly. I took off one jumper. I mean, let's not get carried away.
Well, you see, Hull apparently got mentioned in the weather. We're 30 degrees. In fact, I'm walking around without my shirt on.
Oh.
Disgusting.
Put it back on. Nobody wants to see that.
I know. I did want to mention football and rugby.
Yes. You just did. Well done. What else?
Well, you see, I got locked out of my pub, you see. It was a lockout. So I went back home. I don't have a television, so I heard it on the radio.
Wait a minute, back up. Wait a minute. When you said your pub, do you mean your pub or just a pub that you happen to go to?
Local pub.
Right, OK.
Yeah. And you see, I went back home, and I was hoping to see it on YouTube, but all they had was fans looking at nothing, you know.
You were hoping to see what on YouTube?
Just people looking at the screen, but you couldn't see the football.
Right. So this is ancient history we're talking about now.
But
why did you get locked out if the football was on?
Yeah. But you see,
what do you mean, yes? That's not an
listen to the
explanation.
radio-
Why did you get locked out when the football was on?
I think it was the landlady when the
Saw you
all the
coming.
blokes
Yeah.
went crazy
Right.
a week ago.
Yeah. And?
Oh, so I'm listening to it on the radio, but you don't get things
The visuals.
like
You don't get the
why-
visuals when you're listening to it on the radio. That is completely correct. Well spotted, that man.
Yes, you got it. But why you don't get White Kane passes to Black Sterling?
What? It's not snooker.
Exactly. But you see, imagine, you know, and the penalties were taken, but there was nothing about the colour of people's skin.
Just jump to the point, Charles. Time is running out for
my
you.
Surprise
Yes.
when the next few days everything is about the footballers' colour of the skin.
Right. That's because they were watching it on TV.
And I had the radio. I mean, I didn't know.
Right. Well, now you know. Thanks a lot, Charles, for... God, that's 2 in a row on the Nicky Abbott Show. Let's have the delightfully named Jasmine in Camden.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, mate.
I just wanted to call to rant about Johnson and... God, I'm speaking from personal experience here. I'm a huge fan of Keir Starmer, and I'm getting pretty fed up with everyone in the media just constantly raining on about him and how boring he is and everything and whatnot.
Right.
But
like what we want from a politician is to be entertained.
yeah, exactly. When it comes to Boris Johnson, my mum is she openly is open about who she votes for. She is a Tory voter, and for so many years, I have tried to get through to her. The Tories are not in your favour. Boris Johnson
Right.
is
I think you're on a losing battle there. You're talking to your mum.
Oh my God! I just feel like
your mum thinks of you in nappies. She still thinks of you in that way. You're still her little baby. You're not going to tell her about politics, Jasmine.
I'm 26 years old.
I know, but it makes no difference.
I know, she's so patronising. She's just like, oh, leave Boris alone, blah, blah, blah.
Of course
like,
she's
She's not your
patronising.
friend.
She's your mother.
she's like, oh, I don't like I don't like Keir Starmer anymore. He's up himself. He's not.
He's one of the he's one of the elites. So let's vote for the guy who is a descendant of royalty who went to Eton and is a millionaire, because that'll show the elites.
Exactly.
You want to tell that to your mother?
She's probably listening to me talking to you right now.
Hey, Mum, leave those kids alone.
Wait, can you repeat that once more? Wait, Mum, listen to this from Nick.
Yeah. Hey, you.
Wait, he's right here.
Mum, leave those kids alone.
Rock and roll!
Yeah. Any reaction?
No, just deadly silence and just staring at me.
An eye roll.
I think if looks could kill, I'd be on the floor.
Yeah. An eye roll is what you're getting.
Yeah.
You're getting an eye roll and no supper. You get to go to bed and be quiet about it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jasmine.
Thank you.
The Nick Abbott Show, helping families since 1990. Bournemouth. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. Great show as usual. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Take up on a couple of points. You keep banging on about herd immunity. We're nowhere near that. Maggie's show said ONS figures 92% of the UK population has COVID antibodies, either through being vaccinated, recovering from COVID, or having natural antibodies.
Right. Above what age?
No, that's the population. 92% of the UK population has COVID antibodies.
I don't see how you could possibly know that.
Well, ask Maggie. He said to me on the show yesterday. That's what the Office of National Statistics have stated. 92%. When you take into account the number of people that have been vaccinated, the number of people that have had COVID and recovered, so therefore have antibodies, and then people that have natural antibodies to fight COVID without the vaccination.
Right. Well, I'm unfamiliar with that figure. Okay, here on my screen it says estimates from the ONS range from 88 to 92%.
Yeah.
Based on a sample of blood test results for the week 28th of June, but the estimates only accounted for people in private households and not in hospitals or care homes. Right. And
so you see what I'm saying? If they say herd immunity 85%, we're at that figure really. So taking vaccinations on their own, you can't do that because people have recovered from COVID and therefore have antibodies. And then people have natural antibodies as well. So it's like as Maggie said, it's a hybrid effect of, natural recovery and vaccinations.
Well, if that's the case, then why have we got so many rising cases? Why do we have an increase in number?
Look at Sora just said no, infection rates are dropping.
Well, only in the last couple of days have vaccine.
Last week now.
Well, okay, last week. All right, 7 days.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that seems more of a blip than anything else. I mean, after the results that have come to, after the chickens come home to roost from the Euros, I don't think it's been long enough to see the effect of that. And after, give it a couple of weeks, all those people that are going into nightclubs, it does seem likely that the cases will start going up again, doesn't it?
Okay, well, what about the Sefton Park? What about the BAFTAs? What about the snooker? They had 108,000 people attended those sponsored events, and we've not heard any results from that. And the reason being is because I heard there's something like 20 cases. I mean, it's because...
Yes, but surely it takes a while. Doesn't it take a while for this sort of thing to kick in?
How long do you need?
Right. Okay. All right.
Also,
yes.
onto that, and then one of your callers said about, the reason the infection rates are dropping is because people are taking deleting the app. However, that doesn't work because if you delete the app, that takes off the positive infections as well as the negative infections. So all in all it does affect is the sample rate. It doesn't actually affect the accuracy of the infection rates.
Yes, that seems logical.
Thirdly, obviously, this passport system, it's not going to work because how long, if you've been double jabbed, I've been double jabbed, I know you have, how long is it valid for? Do we have to have the booster? And then they're going to say, right, to go and do these venues, you're going to have 2 jabs plus a booster. How long is it going to take to boost over 50s? So,
well, they haven't specified this, but the implication, I mean, my understanding, not understanding, that implies that they have suggested it, my guess would be that if you have to provide evidence of being double jabbed, then you will also have to provide evidence that you've taken up the booster. And presumably,
how long will that take to get everyone over 50 the booster?
I've got no idea, but presumably there will be a booster every year, just like the flu jab.
Well, yeah, but then again, I mean, then this brings us to the next point. I mean, hopefully they've got to get this to get that in place. They need legislation. Already, Labour is starting to grow a pair and start to say, you know, they're not going to go along with the government every time.
Well, I don't believe that. I think that they have made it possible for the government to do anything they bloomin' well like under these emergency COVID rules, haven't they?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if Labour stand up to it and say, no, we don't agree with this, Lib Dems say they won't support it. You've got the Tories COVID recovery group. I mean, the chances are, if it goes to a vote, I don't think the government will get this through anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they have to vote. I mean, isn't that the point of this emergency ruling, this COVID emergency bill, that they don't actually have to vote on anything at all? They can just he can rule as an emperor.
You have to get parliamentary approval for that.
Well, do you? I don't think you actually do anymore, do you? I think they can just do what they want. Welcome to a brand new world. Stoke, Richard.
What it is, I'm just coming back on something that was said just now by David about the number of infections going down for the past 4 or 5 days or something. And I was the one that phoned in the other day to say that it was probably because people had lost faith in the app, and they didn't want to self-isolate, and so weren't testing themselves as much. And the argument seemed to be back. Again, David just said it again. Well, that's just reducing the sample size, and just as many negatives are being reduced as positives.
Yes.
But that doesn't make sense, Nick, and I'll tell you why it doesn't. It's because if you're testing less, you'll have less positives, full stop. Because it isn't a percentage that they're declaring.
Right.
It's an absolute number.
It's an absolute number, yeah. You're quite right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So let's just clear that up. It could be simply because of there being less people being tested.
Yes, that seems so obvious that I'm disappointed that I did not think of that at the time. Yes, we're not after positive and negative. It's only the positive number that we're looking at. Yes.
Yes, and if we were to really want to measure this, you'd want to do it as a percentage. You know, like 80% of tests have now been positive.
Yeah, but that's not the issue that we're talking about, is it? We're talking about absolute numbers, as you perfectly well described, yeah.
Yes. So I wanted to put that to bed, because it was grating on me.
Yeah, rubbing your fur up the wrong way.
I'm over that hurdle now.
Yeah, okay. Clitheroe. Hello, Chris.
Hello, what have you been on tonight, Nick? You're fairly fiery, my friend.
Instant coffee.
Well, it does you good. My suggestion is...
It almost certainly doesn't, but anyway, go on.
Yeah, the national anthem is a bit of a dirge. So let's let rugby union and football have the same anthem of Swing Low. Then we can swing low the Italians back across the channel and run down the little leg of Italy to Sicily at the bottom.
Right.
Because we've beaten Germany, we've beaten France. Man, you France were probably underground and we missed them last time. And as for George, well, get rid of him, pal. Who's doing your producing tonight?
It's an absolute disgrace, isn't it?
I can't say that. Only you can say that.
Yeah, well, you got on, so there's that.
I've been waiting a fair old time, pal.
Oh, you've been waiting a long time, have you?
Stop whining. Yeah. Anyway, let's hear 1, 2, 3. It's coming home for England.
Oh, my God. No. And furthermore... No. We've got to stop that. Constantly harping on about the war and 1966. Come on, Chris. Get with the programme. Move up. Step into the 1980s. You never know, you might like it. Thanks a lot, Chris. Exmoor. Steve. Is this the same bloke?
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Oh, well, I can now.
Oh, well, that's good. I've just moved from one side of the pub to the other.
Wow.
That's exactly...
It's a miracle.
What? It's not a miracle, Nick. It's just like, this is what it's like where I live, and take it from me, it's just like, just moving like 10 feet makes all the difference. So you can hear me.
I can hear you now, yes. I'm not sure I want to, but go ahead.
Yes, you do. What do you actually want to talk about? You want to talk about what's going to happen on Monday when all the masks come on or come off or whatever?
Have you called up to ask me what I want you to talk about?
No, I was actually phoning through to make sure that I got the right line to talk to Rachel Johnson tomorrow night.
Right, okay, well, I'll put you on hold, shall I?
No, don't put me on hold, Nick. I want to talk to you about what's going to happen on Monday. Because all of a sudden, the mask, from Monday, I've got a choice. I mean, I do have a choice. I mean, I can just open my pub as normal and just let people walk in here. Mm-hmm. Which is what I'm going to do, which is what I've always done, which is apply common sense.
Common sense.
Every last person that's come into my pub and has been over the last 18 months has used common sense.
Common sense.
It's just like, we're not following any rules or anything. Nobody needs to spit on anybody. They don't do that. They don't sing.
Well,
they don't
You know that you don't get it necessarily by spitting on people.
Well, I know, but generally, we all know the way the diseases work, but we use common sense here. We just like play it like in the real world.
Yeah, the virus is invisible and it is not immune to sense, be it common or otherwise.
Yeah, but do I actually need to put lines on the floor in my pub to tell people to stand at a distance from here? Do I need to put a plastic screen up in front of the bar? Do I need to tell people to just act sensibly? They all do. We're well aware the disease exists.
Well, if there's one thing that makes people act sensibly, Steve, it's alcohol.
Well, strangely enough, it doesn't, I know, but it does on Exmoor, and it's like, take it from me, everybody comes in, gets absolutely drunk, and we don't do anything stupid.
Okay, well, you know what, I'm not going to take it from you, because you know you're talking rubbish just as much as I do. People come in and get absolutely hammered, and then act with common sense. No, they don't. Liar! But better luck with Rachel. Like I said before, I'll put you on hold. Do not put the phone down, Steve. Otherwise, you'll never get through. You're on hold. You're first on the list tomorrow, as long as you stay right there. Don't move a muscle. Ealing. Hello, John. John.
Hello.
Oh, yes, John. There you are.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Oh, I went there. How are you getting on anyway? Did you enjoy
good,
it?
thanks. Enjoy.
Was it painful?
It was a little bit painful, yeah.
Oh, right. Well, go to the doctor's for that. I told somebody, and she's here now.
You did what, sorry?
I pulled somebody.
You pulled someone? Right. So
Got a lady. I hope it's a lady.
Oh, well, I guess you'll find out later. Keep us updated, John. Southgate. Hello, John.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Every time there's been events, there's been a spike in the virus. I've cancelled my holidays. I don't know who I'm going to be sitting next to in a plane, or a taxi, or a bus, and so I'm not willing to take the risk. Therefore, it's time to say all those that are not taking the vaccine yet end up in hospital should be made to pay the NHS fees. If they think they're going to have to pay the NHS fees, then they'll think twice about having the jab.
Well, that's if you open that door, James, then the amount of people who would present with some difficulty or problem that you could say has been self-inflicted, like alcohol, for instance, or eating too much cake, or doing DIY, or getting up a ladder without due care and attention.
Anybody that's drunk is immediately put in a certain cell next to the hospital, and they're only released on payment of a fine.
Right. Well, would you prefer to live in Poland or here?
Well, I don't know, because we're in a red alert now at the moment. Any country thinks we're in red alert because we've let our defences down. So I don't know at the moment.
Right. Okay.
I must admit, with the health service as it is, under such pressure, not seeing a doctor for 14 weeks. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. There's no doubt about it. Thank you, John. Dave Ross is presenter for Cairo 97.3 in Seattle, and he joins me now. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. Good to be with you.
Well, thanks for being here. Now, Trumple Thinskin has been back. Your peach powder puff ex-president is back with tremendous stamina. 2 hours he was talking.
Yes.
Which is stamina for both him, which is remarkable, and also the people that were standing there watching him. He was saying many and various different things, much of which we've heard before. Let's just quickly have a listen to some of the things that he was saying on Saturday.
I told the Taliban, I spoke to the leader, and I said, let's call him Mohammed. I said, Mohammed, we're leaving. Poorly against them. Russia is Russia now, not the Soviet Union, because of Afghanistan. So they fight. I said, we're going to come back and hit you harder. And I said, do you understand? He goes, huh? He's a rough guy, you know. I started off the conversation. I said, Mohammed, how are you? President Trump. Huh? Not a lot of social grace, but, you know, that was a nice... He was being nice. I think he was being as nice as he could be, Andy. But they're rough. You know, he's a rough... That's all they do is fight. But I said, we're going to come back and hit you harder than any country has ever been hit. And your village, where I know you are, and where you have everybody, that's going to be the point at which the first bombs drop. I told him that.
What I noticed most about that, Dave, is the lack of reaction from the audience, almost as though 2 hours of his routine has become tiring.
Well, perhaps. Of course, the reason that he brings up Muslims is because he's a New Yorker, and 9/11 still is a big deal in New York, especially, and of course, around America. That has always been a big line for him at rallies when he talks stuff against Muslims. But if you watch the whole rally, and I watched most of it. This is in Arizona, by the way, where that audit is going on by the cyber ninjas. The crowd was fairly responsive, and it was huge. And he draws a lot of energy from that. And some of them, at least so I'm told, I've not checked this out personally, there are some of them travel around the country to go to all his rallies. So it may be that many of those people aren't even from Arizona, but he has a definite fan base and has become a lifestyle for a lot of people who are angry with various things going on in this country.
He's like the new Grateful Dead.
That's not a bad comparison. It is sort of a political rock concert, and he's a star. There's no question about it. And I think he does it not just to talk about his issues, but to the stamina that, as you pointed out, to contrast his stamina and his speaking style with Joe Biden's, shall we say, much less dynamic speaking style.
Yeah, Joe Biden had some brain farts, is one way of describing them. He seemed to be somewhat confused when he was speaking this week. Is that fair to say?
Well, that's how he talks. I don't know how many Joe Biden speeches you've watched, but Joe, even when he was a younger man, would go off on tangents and talk a lot about the working man and the importance of having a job. And he's always saying, honestly, folks, I'm not exaggerating. I mean this. This is no joke. Listen to me. I want you to hear me. He falls back on some of those catchphrases, and it's sort of for his critics, it comes across as a forced and phony sincerity. But I think he actually is that way. He's been through a lot of tragedy in his life, and that's just the way he talks, Nick.
Now, is Trump fading away in his popularity, or is his grip on the Republican Party still as strong as it ever was?
In terms of the Republican Party, the latest poll I could find, and this was released by a John Bolton super PAC. John Bolton was one of his national security advisors. They found that 46% of the likely general election voters would back Donald Trump being the Republican Party's nominee. And that's way beyond the next closest person, who is the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who had something like 13% support. So he is still by far the most popular Republican candidate.
So
now,
can I just clarify?
Yeah.
Were they Republican voters or all voters?
According to this, it says likely general election voters. Now, that's very nonspecific. I haven't seen the actual copy of the poll. But what I do know, because all the Washington correspondents that I've talked to tell me this, there is still nobody, at least in the Republican Party, who has more influence than Trump. Now, how would he do against Biden? So far, I have not seen any recent Trump-Biden matchups. But Biden's voter approval rating, which is conducted just about every week, is still 50% or above, which is still higher than what Trump's was.
Yeah, Trump never got above 50, did he?
Right.
Which is, and as much as I don't want to say this, but his act is pretty good, Donald Trump's. I mean, he could make it as a stand-up comedian.
I don't know if I call it comedy. It's sort of outrage performance art, because it's always about the outrage, the way that he was treated. The fact that according to him, that America is becoming more and more communist day to day. Back when he was first running in 2016, I spent a week in New Hampshire following him around. And people loved him. There was no comparison in energy between, actually, Bernie Sanders crowds came pretty close. But in terms of, Hillary crowds versus Trump crowds, no comparison. Trump was indeed the most entertaining candidate out there.
Now, he has prevaricated on the subject of vaccines, hasn't he? He said something of the order of, what was it he said? He said, I think you should have them, but I don't. But I respect your freedom if you don't want to have them. Is there a problem with anti-vaxxing in America? And has it become part of the culture wars?
Yes. It definitely has. If you look at the map of America, it's mostly the states of the Old South where the vaccination rates are especially low. Now, there have been anti-vaccination movements on both the left and the right. On the left, there are people who believe in all natural food. They don't believe in doctors, don't believe in pills, and so they don't believe in vaccines. And that goes back even to the childhood vaccines we consider routine. On the right, though, the anti-vax movement was certainly aided by Trump's desire to downplay the seriousness of the pandemic because it happened on his watch. And that seems to be the most important factor going forward. There also is a religious connection, because for a long time you've had the right in this country to opt out of the vaccine if you claim your religious faith doesn't allow you to take it in good conscience. So, I mean, those undercurrents have been there all along. But there's no denying that it is the more conservative areas of the country so far that have the lowest vaccination rates.
But in California, which, there are conservative parts of California, but it's not perceived, at least in this country, as being like that. There was a man in California, it's an ironic story, it's not a happy story. He mocked COVID-19 vaccines on social media. He's part of what you call there a mega church. Said he didn't need it, that God would protect him. He got the virus and died in hospital in Los Angeles.
Yes. Well, I mean, we've heard stories about Jehovah's Witnesses and other conservative religious groups who don't believe in doctors, who have tried to stop their children from getting cancer treatments, for example. So that part of the movement has been around for a long time, too. And we also had another story that was on the evening news last week about a young man whose mother did not want him to get the vaccine. He eventually succumbed, and she basically apologized, saying, I had no idea it was this serious. So, I mean, you have people going both ways. The man that you referred to said he wouldn't change his mind even if he was being intubated. And I don't know what you do, Nick, about that. I mean, the message has certainly gone out. Even now on Fox, which is fairly conservative, you see their host now urging people to get vaccinated because I think they're a little worried that some of the stuff they've been broadcasting is leading to the extermination of their audience. Well, I mean, it's really sad because these are sincere people who sincerely believe this and find themselves immersed in all this misinformation that backs up that belief, but many are paying dearly for it.
Yeah, there's one man in particular whose name escapes me for the moment. He's what's the name of the chap? He just got accosted in. He was on holiday in like a fly fishing shop, and he just got accosted by a customer there. Told him that he was the most dangerous man in America. What's the name of the biggest?
Robert Kennedy?
No, the biggest host on Fox.
Sean Hannity?
No, the other one, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest TV stars in America, and he has been accused of peddling this misinformation about the vaccines. How is he getting away with that?
Well, he's allowed to say anything he wants. But he does it by saying, I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking what if. And people are, I mean, there are certainly rumors flying around that he himself has been vaccinated.
Yeah.
But there is an audience that wants its worst fears about this vaccine confirmed. And if you play to that, well, you know how ratings work, right? If you confirm people's beliefs, they tune in night after night.
Right. I'm just going back to Trump just for a moment before we move on. I mean, talking about confirming people's beliefs, that he's fighting the deep state and the election was stolen from him, of course. I mean, we've heard that 1,000 times. And you mentioned this this bizarrely named group in Arizona that's recounting the votes, which is
Cyber Ninjas.
Cyber Ninjas, right. Which is a state that Trump lost by 11,000 votes, more or less, to Joe Biden. So how's the recount going?
Well, they say they came up with this number of 74,000 votes. They say that 74,000 more ballots were cast than were handed out, right? Which, if it were true, would be very suspicious. But in reading up on this, and the Maricopa County Elections Board has been desperately trying to correct some of these facts, what they did was take a couple of lists which the County Board of Elections issues and added them up and didn't know what they meant. So we have what's called a get out the vote effort in every election. States are supposed to issue lists of voters who have voted, not how they voted, but whether they have voted, so that voters who haven't, so that the political parties can go and corral the voters who haven't voted and urge them to send in their ballots, right? So 11 days before the election, you get one count, and then the day before the election, you get another count of people who have voted. Well, the Cyber Ninjas took these partial lists and misinterpreted them, thinking that they were actually votes that were cast when they were not. Basically, they either subtracted when they should have added or added when they should have subtracted, but they got it backwards. And in fact, 450,000 more ballots were sent out than were returned. Now, the real scandal here was a lot of people got ballots and didn't even bother to vote in the election. And it's really a pretty embarrassing story. Cyber Ninjas is now claiming, well, we never claimed we said what we said. We were just stating what we suspected.
Right.
But, I mean, they got it completely wrong. And Trump continues to use these figures, and he repeats them again and again. And I'm sure very few people bother to take the hour it took me to read through the fact checks, right? So they're going to believe what Trump says, even though there's no foundation for it.
Yeah, we're more about feelings than facts these days.
Yes, we are.
Dave,
Yes.
Dave, I'm going to have to leave it there, but it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Same here. Thank you, Nick.
Dave Ross, a presenter for KIRO, KIRO 97.3 in Seattle.
Well, down and down and down we slide. It's too tricky to decide between channels 1 and 63. 'Cause everything is mindless fluff. Like this world's not dumb enough. Does anybody feel the same as me? Is there anybody listening?